everyone, welcome to Biology with MJ. This is MJ, your enthusiastic guide. So whether you are a NEET aspirant or simply a biology lover, this video is filled with valuable insights and knowledge. Okay, so stay tuned till the end of the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss an update. Remember to like, comment and share this video with your friends. Okay, so let's get to the video. Before beginning the video, do not forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Telegram. Links are provided in the description below, and as already said, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to start the chapter Biological Classification, and this is the first lecture of this chapter. Today we are going to cover the topic Kingdom Systems of Classification, okay, focusing mainly on the 5 kingdom classification by R.H. Whittaker. So, the systems of classification, before beginning this topic, we need to understand what was the earliest system of classification that was being done by early humans, the early man. So, the earliest classification was based on uses of various organisms, okay, based on their use, okay, whether the organism was used for food, shelter or clothing. All the organisms were classified into these categories. Based on their uses, human beings put organisms into various categories. The organisms used for food were kept in this category. For shelter, were placed in this category. Organisms used for clothing were placed in the clothing category. So this was a very rough method of classification that was being done by the early man. Then came Aristotle. Okay, Aristotle was a scientist who was the first one to attempt a scientific basis of classification. This method was a very gross method, okay? बहुत ऊपर से classification हो रहा था यहाँ पे. But a scientific method, okay, using a scientific basis, जिसने classification करी, using a more scientific approach, that scientist was Aristotle. So based on, and his classification method was very simple. He just, on the basis, what the criteria he used was simple morphological characters. Okay, organism कैसा दिख रहा है, हमें जो अपनी naked eye से the characters we could observe with our naked eye. Okay, the simple morphological characters, on the basis of these characters, organisms were classified into plants and animals. Plants were classified into herbs, shrubs and trees. So, and animals were classified into those which had red blood and those which did not have red blood. The animals which had red blood were called as enema, and the animals which did not have red blood were called as anema. Alright. So, what did Aristotle do? Based on simple morphological characters observable to the naked eye, he divided plants into herbs, shrubs and trees, and he divided animals into those which had red blood and those which did not have red blood. So this was the Aristotle's method of classification. Okay, the herbs were the smallest of the plants, okay, which were very tender. Then came the shrubs, which were of the medium sized, and then came the trees, okay, which had a thick bark, okay, which were tall. So that is how, based on how these different categories of plant look like, the plant were divided into herbs, shrubs and trees. Further, animals were divided into those which had red blood and those which did not have red blood. Now this is a horseshoe crab. It has blue blood. So it was placed under this category, anema. And this is a human being's finger, okay, oozing out red blood. So they were kept under the category enema, okay, and all the organisms with red blood were kept in this category. Those which did not have red blood were placed in this category, that is anema. Okay. Then came the 2 kingdom classification system, which was given by our favorite scientist Linnaeus. Okay, he divided all of the organisms into 2 categories, that is kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. So all of the organisms were divided into 2 kingdoms, that is kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia, by Linnaeus. But this kingdom system of classification, that is the 2 kingdom system, also had certain loopholes. This was not perfect. There was many cons to it. For example, it did not distinguish between certain groups of organisms. So it did not distinguish between unicellular and multicellular organisms. Okay, now these organisms were put together. Both of these categories had unicellular organisms also, multicellular organisms also. So it did not distinguish between these organisms. Okay, कोई फाइन ट्यूनिंग नहीं थी क्लासिफिकेशन में अच्छे से. वो broadly तो they categorized all the organisms into Plantae kingdom and Animalia kingdom, but finer classification was missing. Okay, then it did not distinguish between prokaryotes and eukaryotic organisms. Okay, because prokaryotes and eukaryotes both were present together in these kingdoms. They did not distinguish them, did not separate them. So the different इनको distinguish नहीं किया गया था, so that was missing because it was not, this system of classification did not distinguish between these groups of organisms. Then it did not distinguish between photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms. Now photosynthetic organism का example हो गया हमारा green algae, and non-photosynthetic organism, for example, fungi. So it did not distinguish between these organisms. So this was one of the major cons of two kingdom classification system. And also large number of organisms did not fall into either of the two categories. Okay, so large number of organisms, for example, Chlamydomonas, slime molds, Euglena. Now these organisms had the characters of both plants and animals. Okay, so they did not fall into either the kingdom Plantae or either into kingdom Animalia. So these certain exceptional organisms were also there which were not falling into either of the categories. That is why two kingdom classification system was not that well accepted. Okay, and also besides just the classification system, besides just gross morphology, सिर्फ morphology के basis के अलावा there was also a need for including other characteristics. Okay, apart from morphology, there was a need for including other characteristics also, like cell structure, nature of wall, mode of nutrition, habitat, methods of reproduction, evolutionary relationships, etc. Okay, classification के criteria में it was very important to include all these characteristics as well, not just gross morphology. Then came the three kingdom classification system, which was given by the scientist Haeckel. Okay, he divided organisms into three kingdoms: Protista, Plantae, and Animalia. He included all the unicellular organisms into the kingdom Protista. So he went one step ahead. He took out all the unicellular organisms from these kingdoms and put it under kingdom Protista. Okay, so one problem is solved now. Then came the four kingdom system of classification, which was given by Copeland. Okay, he took out one more kingdom, that is kingdom Monera. Now kingdom Monera included all prokaryotes. Okay, here unicellular organisms were present, but this did not distinguish between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, right? Although majority of the organisms were aquatic eukaryotes in kingdom Protista, but it did not distinguish between prokaryotes and eukaryotes because certain prokaryotes must have also been present in this group, right? So Copeland went further one step ahead and put all the prokaryotes into the kingdom Monera. So kingdom Monera had all the prokaryotes, and prokaryotes are unicellular organisms. So all the prokaryotes were kept under kingdom Monera. Okay. Now, moving on. Now came R.H. Whittaker, who gave the five kingdom system of classification, okay, which is the most widely accepted system of classification. Okay. Now, R.H. Whittaker gave the system of classification in 1969. So his criteria of classification included cell structure also, body organization also, mode of nutrition of organisms also, their methods of reproduction, their phylogenetic or evolutionary relationships also. So all of these criteria he included in his classification system. That is why it is the most widely accepted system of classification. Now he divided the organisms into five kingdoms, which were Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Okay, these were the 5 kingdoms. So, fungi was the new kingdom that was added by R.H. Whittaker in his 5 kingdom system of classification. So, what influenced this system of classification? Why was fungi taken out of this group and taken out and put as a separate kingdom? Now, earlier classification systems included bacteria, blue-green algae, fungi, mosses, ferns, gymnosperms, and angiosperms, all of these into the group plants. Okay, all of these were kept under plants because all of these had a common character, that is, they all had a cell wall. But there were certain problems with this method because bacteria and blue-green algae are prokaryotes and all of these organisms are eukaryotes. So prokaryotes and eukaryotes were being kept together. So this was one of the major problems with the earlier classification systems. Then fungi has chitin in its cell wall. Its cell wall composition is different from the cell wall composition of these organisms. Okay, all of these had a cellulosic cell wall, whereas fungi had a chitinous cell wall. So that is why there was a need to take fungi out and put as a separate kingdom. इसलिए ज़रूरत थी कि fungi को निकाल के एक separate kingdom बना दिया जाए, which was kingdom fungi and which was done by the scientist Whittaker. Okay? And एक और problem था that the unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms were kept together, okay, in the systems, in earlier classification systems. Okay, for example, Chlamydomonas, which is a unicellular organisms, and Spirogyra, which is multicellular, were kept together under algae. Okay, so these were the various problems that were that influenced the 5 kingdom system of classification. Okay, that is why 5 kingdoms were made. Okay, Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Now, Monera included all the unicellular prokaryotes. Protista included all the unicellular eukaryotes. Okay. Now, this table is very important. Okay, this is from NCERT. It is very important and you need to like literally memorize this table. So, as I was telling, these were the different characters by Whittaker on the basis of which these 5 kingdoms were established. These are the 5 kingdoms: Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Now, all of these represent the cell structure, okay, which was one of the criteria of for putting 5 kingdom classification. Then body organization is there, mode of nutrition is there, reproduction and evolutionary relationships are also there, but in this table only these characters are included. So based on the cell type, Monera had prokaryotic organisms, Protista had eukaryotic organisms, fungi, plantae, and animalia, all of these had eukaryotic organisms. Now if we talk about cell wall, Monera had non-cellulosic cell wall, which were made up of polysaccharides and amino acids. Protista had cell wall, but it was present in some, not in all the organisms belonging to Protista. Okay, cell wall was present in some of the organisms that were belonging to Protista, not all. In fungi, cell wall was present, but and it had chitin in it. Okay, it was a chitinous cell wall. Plants had, in under kingdom Plantae, the cell wall was cellulosic. Okay. In kingdom Animalia, the cell wall was absent. Okay, it was not present in kingdom Animalia. If we talk about nuclear membrane, in Monera, the nuclear membrane was absent because all the prokaryotes were present in Monera. So in prokaryotes, nuclear membrane is absent, right? Okay. In Protista, nuclear membrane was present. In fungi, nuclear membrane was present. Plantae and Animalia, nuclear membrane was present because all of these are eukaryotes. Okay, all of these had eukaryotic cells. So in eukaryotes, a well-defined nuclear membrane is present, whereas a nuclear membrane is absent in prokaryotes. Okay, only a nucleoid is present. Okay, a well-defined nucleus is absent. So if we talk about body organization, Monera had a cellular body organization, okay? Unicellular organisms are present in Monera. Similarly, in Protista also unicellular organisms are present. In fungi came the multicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms कहाँ से शुरू हो गए हमारे fungi से. So in fungi, the organisms were multicellular, okay, and were arranged in a loose tissue-like arrangement. In plantae, tissues and organs were present, okay. Tissues, cells make up tissues and tissues make up organs, okay. So tissues and organs were present in plantae, and in Animalia, tissues, organs and organ systems were present, okay. The most complex of the arrangements was present in kingdom Animalia. Now, cells make up tissues, tissue make up organs, and organs make up organ systems. So this kind of, all these systems were present in kingdom Animalia. So this was the body organization differences present in different kingdoms. If we talk about mode of nutrition, in Monera, autotrophic and heterotrophic, both kinds of mode of nutrition were present, okay. Autotrophic included chemosynthetic and photosynthetic mode of nutrition, and heterotrophic mode of nutrition included saprophytic and parasitic mode of nutrition, okay. If we talk about kingdom Protista, autotrophic mode of nutrition was present, which was photosynthetic. Which kind of autotrophic mode of nutrition? Now, autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition are also of different types, okay. So in kingdom Protista, the autotrophic type was photosynthetic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition was present. If we talk about kingdom fungi, heterotrophic mode of nutrition was present, which was of two types, either saprophytic or parasitic. In kingdom Plantae, autotrophic mode of nutrition was present, which was photosynthetic. In kingdom Animalia, heterotrophic mode of nutrition was present, which was either holozoic or saprophytic or parasitic, okay. Various kinds of mode of nutrition were present in kingdom Animalia. Then came the sixth kingdom system of classification also, which was given by Carl Woese. Okay, what did he do? He divided the kingdom Monera. Okay, the kingdom Monera was divided into two domains, that is bacteria and archaea. So these are the two domains, bacteria and archaea. And all the eukaryotic kingdoms were kept under the domain Eukarya. So all of these kingdoms, Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia, were kept under the domain Eukarya, and kingdom Monera was divided into two kingdoms, okay, that is kingdom Eubacteria and kingdom Archaebacteria, which were put in the domains bacteria and archaea respectively, okay. Now, domain क्या होता है? Domain is a level which comes even above the kingdom in the taxonomic hierarchy. So, domain can also be called as super kingdom because domain represents a collection of kingdoms. ये सारे kingdoms ही तो हैं जो कि domain एक domain के under आ रहे हैं, right? So, Carl Woese gave this system of classification. This is a common ancestor from which these domains arose, all right? So, if we talk about bacteria, it comprises of eubacteria and archaea comprises of archaebacteria. So, what was the difference between these two, you may ask now? Now, in they had a difference in their cell wall composition, okay? So, peptidoglycan was present in eubacteria in their cell wall, whereas peptidoglycan was absent in archaebacteria. Now, there was also another difference between these two, okay? In their cell membrane composition also there was a difference. So, a monolayer, okay, was present in eubacteria. A monolayer which was made up of branched chain lipids, okay, lipids की बनी हुई थी, एक monolayer present थी cell membrane में. But इनमें जो ये branched chain lipids थे, they were absent in archaebacteria, okay? So, peptidoglycan was present in eubacteria and their cell walls, whereas peptidoglycan was absent in archaebacteria. A monolayer made up of branched chain lipids was present in eubacteria in their cell membrane, whereas this monolayer having branched chain lipids was absent in archaebacteria. So, that is why Carl Woese found a need to divide even kingdom Monera also into these two separate kingdoms. Okay, so the theory ends here. Now let's practice some questions. This is from 2015. Okay, and we have to pick up the wrong statement. Nuclear membrane is present in Monera. So is nuclear membrane present in Monera? No, this statement is wrong, because Monera comprises of prokaryotic organisms. Cell wall is absent in Animalia. Yes, this statement is correct. Cell wall is not present in Animalia because it comprises of all the animal cells, which in animal cells the cell wall is absent, only cell membrane is present. Okay. Point number 3, plants generally have autotrophic mode of nutrition. Now this statement is correct. Plants do have autotrophic mode of nutrition. Some fungi are edible. Yes, this statement is also correct. We will study this point about fungi later on. So the wrong statement here is statement number 1, that is the nuclear membrane is present in Monera. Okay, because Monera comprises of prokaryotic organisms. Now, the two kingdoms that are constant in all types of classifications from Linnaeus to Whittaker are Plantae and Animalia, Monera and Protista, Protista and Fungi, Monera and Fungi. So the correct answer is Plantae and Animalia. Because Linnaeus was the first scientist, okay, he gave the two kingdom system of classification in which he divided all the organisms into Plantae and Animalia kingdoms. So after Linnaeus, many other scientists gave 3 kingdom, 4 kingdom, 5 and 6 kingdom of classification, but these two kingdoms remained constant in all of those classification systems. Okay, so the correct answer is option number 1. Which of the following characters serve as the criteria for the 5 kingdom system of classification as used by R.H. Whittaker? Let us see the options. Cell structure and thallus organization. Yes, both of these were the criteria used by Whittaker. Mode of nutrition was also there, reproduction was also there, phylogenetic relationships were also there. So the correct answer is option number D. All of these criteria were used as all of these characters were used as criteria for the 5 kingdom system of classification given by R.H. Whittaker. Okay. Now, one question is based on assertion and reason here. So the assertion is 2 kingdom classification system was insufficient, and the reason given is the majority of organisms did not fall into either of the categories in the 2 kingdom classification. So we have to select the correct option. Okay, so if both assertion and reason are true and reason is the correct explanation of assertion, we have to select option number 1. If both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion, we have to select option number B. If assertion is true, but reason is false, we have to select option number C, and option number D we have to select if both assertion and reason are false. So assertion says 2 kingdom classification was insufficient. So क्या वो insufficient थी? Yes, definitely it was insufficient. That is why there was a need to give more classification systems, right? What was the reason for this insufficiency? The reason was the majority of organisms did not fall into either of the categories in the 2 kingdom classification system. So is this reason correct? Yes, this reason is correct. Out of all the reasons that we have studied, one of the major reasons was that there were certain organisms which had the characters of both plants and animals. For example, Chlamydomonas, Euglena, slime molds, and these organisms, the scientists were not able to place them in either of the 2 categories, not in kingdom Plantae, not in kingdom Animalia, because these had the characters of both these kingdoms. So this was one of the major reasons that this system of classification was insufficient. So if both the assertion and reason are true and the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion, yes, the reason is the correct explanation of assertion, so we have to select option number 1. Okay, option number B, C and D are incorrect. Okay, so that was all for today's video, students. Hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any feedback and suggestions, or if you found something useful, do let me know in the comments below, and like this video, definitely share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.